Hello everyone, as you know I am Paul, your e-hobby guy, and in today's video we're going to take a look at this USB tester. It's called the UNI-T UT658. Now this USB tester can test voltage and current that's going through a particular USB port. Not only that, it can test battery capacity in milliamp hours, and so we're going to do some actual battery capacity testing, and we're going to compare this with some other modules that we've looked at in the past, and we'll see how they fare against each other and see how good this particular tester is comparing it to the other testers. Without any further delay, let's jump right in. Okay, here it is. I'm not sure what the T087 means. It's a UT658 USB tester. We have a QR code here. This is exactly how it came. Let's get it out. There it is. The UNI-T UT658 USB tester. It does have a nice protective cover here for the USB portion. Now I do have a couple of other testers here that don't compare to this UNI-T tester. So what I'd like to jump right into is setting up a load on this and then checking its values to see how accurate it is. We'll also go through the full functionality of this. So the input DC voltage can range from 3 volts to 9 volts. The current can range from 0 amps to 3 amps, so that's pretty good. And the capacity in milliamp hours that it can measure can range from 0 up to 9,999 milliamp hours, which is essentially 10 amp hours. So we can measure up to 10 amp hours on this. And we have a QR code here. Let me take a quick look at the QR code. The only thing that QR code gave me was this number, which is identical to the number right here, and I'm assuming that's just a serial number of some sort. Okay, let's give it some power. Now on this screen, there are 4 things that we're looking at. We're getting the voltage coming from the power supply here, the current that's passing through the unit, which is obviously nothing attached right now, so that's a 0. This milliamp hour rating is a cumulative milliamp hour rating, and we have nothing attached and nothing was attached, so that's a 0. And this final digit here is a 0 to 9. There's 10 memory slots in this, 0 to 9. In each memory slot it will retain a milliamp hour reading. So if we look at this bottom right digit right here, we can use this button to scroll through the 10 channels. So I'm just going to press 1, we're at 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9. So it goes 0 to 9, back to 0. All of them are 0 right now because I've attached nothing and it's out of the box. So we'll put a load on this and we'll look at what happens to the current, voltage, the milliamp hour rating, and obviously this won't change. So I'll leave this at channel 0. We'll accumulate some milliamp hours. As for a load for this, I do have this USB resistive load, and in essence we do have 2 high wattage low resistance resistors here, and they can be either put in series or in parallel, giving me 2 settings. The 2 settings are here and can be selected with this switch right here. The switch is either 1 amp up here or 2 amps down here, and there's a bicolor LED here which is there just to indicate whether you're on the 2 amp or the 1 amp setting. This little resistor here, it's just a current limiting resistor for this LED. So let's get this on. Okay, so my voltage here is 5.22. I'm expecting that to drop down a little bit as this load gets on. It is on the 2 amp setting right now, and this is supposed to be capable of over 2 amps on this particular USB. Voltage just dropped minimally, so that's very good. I'm glad. We have a 1.86 amps, and we started the milliamp hour accumulation here on the first channel, 0, and it's accumulating here. I'm going to switch from the 2 amp setting here to the 1 amp, and it changed from red to green, green being the 1 amp setting, red being the 2 amp. And we can see, yeah, the 1 amp is pretty close to 1 amps. It's 0.98 amps. The voltage is remaining pretty constant, and I am getting this cumulative milliamp hour setting here as time goes by. It's measuring the current and the voltage, calculating the cumulative milliamp hours and displaying it right here. So again, I'm getting 4 things here: the voltage, the current, the cumulative milliamp hour reading, and the 4th is just a channel to which this milliamp hour reading is associated with. So I can actually scroll through the different channels. Now that I switched to channel 1, the milliamp hour setting starts to accumulate here. If you're looking for a total milliamp hour cumulative reading, you can't switch channels while it's taking reading. So I'm on channel 1 here, and there it is. It's all the way up to 8. So I'm going to try and scroll around to 0 again. If we're looking bottom right here, it's going to scroll all the way up to 9 and then around to 0. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. The milliamp hours continues to accumulate here and is not accumulating on channel 1. The important thing to understand here is that if you're looking for a cumulative milliamp hour reading, do not change the channel and the total accumulation will occur on a single channel. Now this can be used to measure the milliamp hour battery capacity of a battery as long as we pass the current through this, and we'll take a look at that and compare the milliamp hour reading from this to a couple of other battery capacity testers and see how it compares to those. Now one other thing to keep in mind is that if we switch the load off, and this is getting pretty hot here, so if we switch the load off, we can see the current drop down to 0. The milliamp hour reading stays in place at channel 0. And then if we kill power to the whole thing, it's now completely dead. I'll put it back in. It retained the channel that it was last on and the milliamp hour setting. And so if we plug our load back in, we got 0.99 amps, and it continues to accumulate the milliamp hour settings. This is extremely useful in calculating the battery capacity of a battery that might have intermittent use. And that's very important to understand. With a lot of other testers, you don't get the ability to test battery capacity with intermittent use. It zeroes itself out. That's a very, very nice and important feature of this little tester, one that's going to be very useful. Here I have a couple of batteries. They're 18650 lithium ion batteries that I scavenged from a laptop. I'm going to get these fully charged up, and after that we'll put a resistive load on this and check the battery capacity just using this. So we'll come back when these are fully charged. And we are charged. Let's pop these out. Okay, I'm just going to label these 1 and 2 so we can keep track of them. Okay, so here I have my battery number 1. I have my protection circuit, my boost converter, my tester, and my load. So we're going to put this battery through its capacity test. So let's get this plugged in. No load yet. Yes, I am getting a 5.16 volts. So let's just advance it to number 1. Number 1, just from playing around, has a 10 milliamp hour. So I'm just going to press and hold to clear that. Now we're to 0. So now I'm going to apply this load. There we go. 0.97 amps, 5.05 volts. And we should see some milliamp hours accumulating. Yes, we do, right there. So I'm going to let this play its course completely. I'll come back when it's fully dead, which means that the charge protection circuit has cut the voltage off completely from this battery. I'll be back and we'll check the battery capacity of battery number 1. And by the magic of movie making, we are back. And we're fully discharged at least one cycle. So I'm going to disconnect the load. Let's just put this over here. Bring back my main power with no load. We're on channel 1, and that battery under that load in these conditions, 441 milliamp hours. That's very low, but that's what it is. It's not lying. We are of course going to test on other testers. So I'm going to do the same with battery number 2, and let's get that done right now. Okay, here we are with battery number 2 hooked up. I'm going to move to channel number 2. There we go, channel number 2, 0 milliamp hours plugged in, and the load is on. Channel number 2, 2 milliamp hours, it's starting to accumulate. We'll let this sit and see what the milliamp hours we get for this battery number 2 is, and we'll come back. Okay, we're back. Number 2 has cut out. I will take the load off again on channel 2, and there it is, 409. Pretty low value, but it's giving us battery capacity of these two. With that, we will put the batteries onto this other battery capacity tester and see how close they come. Okay, here we are. We are fully charged up. Batteries 1 and 2. I have this battery capacity tester we featured in a previous video. So I'm going to pop battery 1 onto this and do the battery capacity test with this guy for numbers 1 and 2. Here I am with a 1 amp load. You can see it cycling through the voltage, the amp hours, and the watt hours for this particular battery. Again, I will include in the description and possibly at the end of this video a complete operational instructions on this particular module. But for now, we're just going to do the battery capacity test again for batteries 1 and 2. And here we are. 1201 milliamp hours. That's a huge difference to this UNI-T tester. I'll move on and do number 2. We might stop it at that if we do have another massive discrepancy like that. So I'm going to switch battery over to battery number 2. We'll run that test and take a look. And here we are with battery number 2. We have 1186 milliamp hours, and we can tell right away nowhere near the value that was measured by this. Let's move on from here. Now I have the batteries recharged. We're going to put this guy away. We're going to use this tester that we reviewed in a previous video. I'll test once again these two batteries, 1 and 2, with this different tester. Now this tester has a fixed resistance and the voltage changes, and so during the testing of this there is a varying current. We've reviewed this fully in another video, but I just want to point that out. It should give us a good idea. As we know, different methods of testing will yield different results, slight variances. So I just wanted to point that out. But it'll give us a good frame of reference in looking at these 3 different methods of testing battery capacity. So I'll get my battery holder hooked up right here and we'll get it tested. Okay, here I have battery number 1 wired right into this module. We'll give it power. It's giving me the battery voltage, which is 4.15, and it's a 3-volt cutoff with a fixed resistance here, 5 watt 7.5 ohm resistor. So I'm just going to click OK. We'll let this get all the way down and see what battery capacity this particular module gives us, and then we'll have a frame of reference with 3 different methods of testing the same 2 batteries. Okay, this is complete, and the reading we're getting for this one, battery number 1, there it is, 1627 milliamp hours, or 1.627 amp hours. That's interesting. We'll write them all down. I'll just test the last one here, battery number 2, using this tester. We'll put them all together and make some conclusions and wrap it up. Okay, here's battery number 2. Let's just get started here. Yeah, so that's our current reading. There's our voltage, dropped down to 3.94, and now we're accumulating the milliamp hours. We'll get through all of battery number 2, and like I just said, we'll get them all written down next to each other, make some comparisons, and wrap it up. Here we do have number 2 is finished, 1.589 amp hours, or 1589 milliamp hours. Stop it from flashing. As we can see, this is radically different from what we got from this. Let's get these numbers down and compare them side by side. Okay, here are the results. The focus of this video, which is the UNI-T tester, clearly is way below the other 2 testers. We have 441 milliamp hours here, and almost 3 times that for our constant current module here. The constant resistance tester is 3.5 to 4 times the value from the UNI-T tester. Consistently, all of the values for battery number 1 are greater than all of the values for battery number 2. So there's one thing I think we can clearly conclude from this, is that the UNI-T tester is just way off of the other 2 testers, this constant current tester and this constant resistance tester module. In conclusion, this UNI-T UT658, absolutely not reliable in my opinion. I would not use it as a battery capacity tester. Certainly the voltage and current readings did look accurate. Not sure what's causing the radical difference in the amp hour readings, but I would not use this as a battery capacity tester. That's just one more method that we've gone through. This is a total of 3. Do have more to come. UNI-T tester, it's a bust when it comes to battery capacity testing. The constant resistance module here is looking reliable, and the constant current module here is also looking reliable. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video today. Click the circle with my picture in it right now to subscribe to this channel. I really do appreciate your support. Follow me on social media. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.